Does he come in and say, this is what I'm working on? Does he say, here's what we're doing?
First of all, he's a great guy. He was never really a supporter or not a supporter. He was a, sort of semi-neutral kind of a guy, not a political person, very smart, brilliant person, and which I like. I'm a big believer in IQ points. I mean, it's a good thing.
President Donald Trump might be a fan of Elon Musk's intelligence and IQ, but it turns out that some Republican lawmakers are starting to panic about Elon Musk's role in the Trump administration, and they're responding to their constituents who are writing in to share their concerns about Elon Musk and the seemingly unmitigated power it appears he has in the Trump administration. So let's get into the details. Reporters over at the Bulwark, and I should note, they do not like Trump over there. So I would typically take their reporting on Trump with a grain of salt, or I would look for something to kind of balance it out. But to be fair to them, they did obtain the actual letters that Republican members of Congress sent to their constituents who had written into them to share their concerns about Elon Musk. So let's get to some of the Republicans and what they are saying in response to their constituents. Starting with Representative Rob Whitman, he's a Republican from Virginia. He wrote back to his constituents, I share your concerns regarding potential conflicts of interest and overreach. Protecting the personal information of Americans is a fundamental responsibility, and any breach of privacy is alarming. He continues, the prospect of private individuals or companies having unfettered access to sensitive data raises critical questions about accountability, oversight, and safeguarding of our citizens' rights. So clearly, a constituent wrote in to his office to complain or at least express concern over Elon Musk's access to our private information through the Treasury Department. And this is what Representative Whitman wrote back. So look, I just think it's interesting how privately or quietly they try to calm or ease the nerves of their constituents, but they'll never say anything publicly about it. Like I haven't heard anything from Congressman Whitman about how he's concerned about Elon Musk accessing our private personal data through the Treasury Department.
Yeah, so look, I'm gonna tell you guys in a minute if and how Republican politicians would actually turn on Elon Musk and Donald Trump. And by the way, Elon Musk just gave a super weird rambling speech in the Oval Office with Donald Trump, trying to justify DOGE. And so if he's trying to justify DOGE, he might be a little worried about his own popularity with Republican politicians and voters. So those are all super interesting developments, but first more.
So I should also note that Whitman's district is obviously in the state of Virginia, as I mentioned earlier, and Virginia is gonna have a lot of federal workers. His district alone has around 20,000 federal employees. And so he might be feeling more pressure compared to other GOP lawmakers in regard to Elon Musk's role in the Trump administration. Now, unlike Whitman, Republican Senator Kevin Cramer, by the way, is actually willing to share his concerns about Elon Musk publicly to the press. I want to give you a little taste of that.
There have to be guardrails, obviously, on what information he accesses, but more importantly, what he does with it. As a major defense contractor, as a major government contractor, there have to be some guardrails.
So I just want to commend Senator Cramer for being willing to say that publicly, because he obviously drew attention to the very real conflicts of interest that Elon Musk does in fact have. I mean, look, I don't think there's anything wrong with wanting to audit government agencies. I would like it to be a little more methodical as opposed to just chop everything down without really thinking about it. Because I think that there are some skilled, important federal workers that we might end up getting rid of, and it's gonna be hard to replace them. Bill Clinton, by the way, during his administration, cut hundreds of thousands of federal jobs. I was reading about this, but there was a method to that madness, right? There was an actual review to ensure that they weren't getting rid of important federal workers. And so again, there's nothing wrong with that. But when you are the CEO of several companies and you're receiving federal government grants, it is rich for you to go around and like call for a freeze on federal funding and all of that stuff, right? So that conflict of interest is important to point out, and it means more to hear it come from a Republican lawmaker like Senator Kramer.
So Musk just did this giant, long, rambling speech, as I told you, in the Oval Office. We'll try to maybe get parts of it for you guys later in this show. Well, obviously, we're doing this live. Check out the show live, 6 o'clock Eastern every day. So now, part of the reason he did it is because he's trying to justify getting all the information at the Treasury. Because look, guys, if you say, hey, we got to make sure that we're spending in the right places, that makes total sense. If you say Trump said to everyone that he would cut, totally get it. And that he would especially cut things that are corruption, fraud, waste, abuse, etc. Totally get it. If you say, okay, that's why we cut all of USAID without even looking at it, I go, wait, what? What if there's good programs in there? Like if you show me a bad program, great, let's cut it, right? And you could prove it, etc., right? So, and you cut it through Congress, you do it the right way. You'd have the American people totally on your side, because you say, look at this terrible program, and we're all focused on the terrible, and we got rid of it, and you get credit for it, right? But when you chop away treatment for AIDS and cancer, etc., then people look at that and go, well, I don't know that I agree with that. Okay, then you go over to Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, and that's actually the cop on Wall Street. Why are we getting rid of the cop on Wall Street? That makes no sense. Okay, but finally, the more important one, and why he's talking about the Treasury and the Oval Office, and why the Republican politicians are worried, is people are like, wait, why do you need our private information?
Right, exactly.
Because like, if you want to cut from the Treasury, first of all, you don't get to unilaterally cut, that's crazy. Congress controls the power of the purse, but good news for Republicans, you have Congress and you have the White House. So you can cut those things, but the budget's public. Why do you need Bob's private information in Nebraska if the budget's already public?
And remember, for people in the tech industry, there's nothing more valuable than data. Okay,
oh, for sure.
There's nothing more valuable than data, and he's still a tech CEO at the end of the day. You might love him, you might be super proud of the businesses that he's successful at, but at the end of the day, the most valuable thing to a business owner like Elon Musk is data. And having him have access to every single American's social security number, personal information, that is concerning.
Not only Americans, but also literally his competitors.
Yes.
At CFPB, he got information on Cash App, which is a competitor of his, and they're doing features that he says he wants to do on X, but they are not yet doing. Now he has potentially all their secrets. That's not remotely fair. That's crazy. So he's not going to go and give that Oval Office speech unless he's felt pressure from Republicans, right? They don't care what Democrats or left wing says at all, right? So now, why is he feeling that pressure? Because of articles like this, where now and the article doesn't create it. The article is telling you what's happening in Washington. There's rumblings. Why are there rumblings? Because like Klobuchar says, oh, these Republican politicians all of a sudden decide to be moral?
No, it's their constituents.
It's their constituents that are, and they have a sense, these are not my left-wing constituents. These are the constituents that elected me, and I'm worried.
Yes.
And maybe my poll numbers are going to drop soon, now I'm worried. And now they see Elon Musk polling numbers drop just like we said they would, and those numbers are dropping off a cliff. So now all of a sudden they're scrambling.
So Republican Representative Mike Flood is another example. He even wrote back to his constituents to say that he understands that DOGE's work is stressful to voters. Representative Flood offered them his assurances. Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, Flood wrote, had told me to my face that Mr. Musk absolutely does not have full access to the federal payment system. He pledged to take his responsibility under the Constitution very seriously, to respect Congress's power of the purse, and restated his intention to protect Nebraskans. Now, Nebraska's Deb Fischer assured constituents who were worried about Elon Musk accessing their private information through the Treasury Department that she's closely monitoring the situation. She wrote back to them saying, I believe that it is valuable for the federal government's operations and processes to be reviewed to identify potential efficiencies and cost savings. However, I also understand that the Treasury Department's payment system contains extremely sensitive and confidential data. It is critical for the Treasury Department to maintain its strict procedures to ensure that this data is protected and not improperly disclosed while this review is underway. Please be assured that I will continue to closely monitor the situation in the days and weeks ahead. And finally, you have Senator John Curtis, another Republican from the state of Utah, who said in a form letter that it was important that DOGE operates with appropriate oversight to maintain transparency, prevent conflicts of interest, and ensure its work remains focused on serving the American people. Now remember, these are people who are writing back to their constituents who are worried about Elon Musk. We don't know whether or not they're actually doing oversight and paying close attention and ensuring that behind the scenes, Elon Musk doesn't have this unmitigated power and access to our private information. You shouldn't take what they're writing back to their constituents at face value. But Donald Trump should be concerned because while his approval rating at the moment is at record highs for Trump, Elon Musk not so much. Take a look.
39% support. 53%, the clear majority opposed. They don't want this. The American people don't want this. No, no, no. Just 36% of independents support the idea of Elon Musk having a key role in the Trump administration. So the bottom line when it comes to all of this and Elon Musk being everywhere it seems in the federal government trying to trim down the federal deficit, the American folks simply put do not want Elon Musk having a key role in the Trump administration.
So there's a real possibility that that pungent stench from Musk might transfer on over to Donald Trump. And so that's when things might get interesting.
Yeah, so when he says, oh, don't worry, we're overseeing what Elon's doing. There's no chance that's happening. They're not overseeing anything. What is like these rando Congress people from the middle of the country going up to Elon Musk, who's clearly running the federal government right now and going, okay, I demand accountability. That's not, by the way, not only is that not remotely true, it's actually politically like a bad thing to say. It's a misstep, right? Why? Because then your voters are going to come back to you and say, wait, I thought you were overseeing Elon. Why didn't you notice him doing X, Y, Z and all these terrible things that he did, right? So now I want to give you one last thing, which is Obamacare, the example of it. Because remember Republicans said we're going to repeal Obamacare, repeal and replace, and then they never had a plan to replace, et cetera. And then Trump made a big deal out of how they're going to do that, and they couldn't. They couldn't. So why couldn't they? So I wrote about this in my book, Justice is Coming, because tons of people showed up to town halls, and they weren't just Democrats, they were independents and even some Republicans, independents decide elections, and they were mad. They're like, wait, I rely on this. If I don't have this, it'll be a nightmare.
I remember.
And oh my God, I got pre-existing conditions. Are you guys nuts, right? And they yelled so much, the voters, the independents yelled so much at the Republican politicians that enough of them turned around so that we won. That is the correct strategy, okay? But you've got to, just Democrats yelling at them is not enough. You've got to win over the independents and some Republicans if you're really good, so that you could put pressure on Republican politicians to turn around. The good news is it's begun a little bit, and Elon's terrible poll numbers are starting to worry them, and that's good news.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR, so those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.